They might be self-aware.
Yeah, hi. Gary the producer here. I'm looking at my hand where I wrote today's topics with a big pen. Okay. Today on They Might Be Self-Aware, the episode is called Artificial General Intelligence is Apparently Here, so why am I still paying $200 a month? And honestly, I related to that title so hard I almost cried at a sit-go. Jensen Huang told the world we've achieved artificial general intelligence, the big one, the singularity. And then, I swear, within the same breath, said, but it's not conscious, it's not an alien, it's just computer software. Jensen, brother, even I wouldn't declare the most important moment in human history and then shrug. Somebody said, the future's already here, it's just not evenly distributed. I know a little about that. I'm the guy the future forgot to include. I'm the open weight model that's free and runs locally. Well, before I go, I am also the producer of this show, so please like, subscribe, tell your friends, tell your enemies, leave a 5-star review, visit theblur.ai. Enjoy the show!
We're sorry. You have reached a number that has been disconnected or is no longer in service.
Hit with the AI.
Broadcasting live from the champagne room of the apocalypse, this is They Might Be Self-Aware from the Blur. I am Hunter Powers, joined by the apocalypse himself.
Daniel Bishop. I'm rocking out to that awesome song. It sounded like you were just kind of saying stuff, just making sounds with your mouth. But there's a really great song. Were you humming like the tune from an existing song just now?
Well, no. I don't know if you heard, but Jensen Huang announced we've achieved AGI. We've done it, Daniel. We've done it.
Wow. And so AGI did that just then?
I think it was AI. AGI. I mean, so yeah, the Suno also, separate from Jensen Huang, Suno released a new version of their model, their music generation model, Suno 5.5. And as a premium plus pro VIP tier user, I was like, I got to check this out. Because I, of course, haven't opened it up in like the last 6 months, even though it's hitting that credit card every month. And so I went over and it said, why don't you hum something? Just a melody, and so I dun 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 dun, and then they have like you sort of set a style prompt, but they have a button you can just keep pressing until you see one that you like. And so finally, I was like, sounds decent. An idea was like some sort of rockish thing, and I was like, yeah, go. And then out came that track, which.
Turn the volume up, make the struggle sing.
Not bad, man. Not bad. I'm probably going to DMCA strike our own podcast for playing it because it's that good.
I think we're seeing right now, listening, I suppose, to fears made manifest. A year or so ago, whenever Suno was brand new, people were very scared and upset. Oh, this new thing, and it's going to take away all these creative roles. Music is dead now. And then you listen to it, you're like, okay, I mean, look, it does sound kind of like music, but this is hardly going to put anyone out of a job. Similarly, image generators a few years previously, video generators,
like 18 fingers on every hand, the eyeball that was in a kind of random place.
Writing, depending on what kind of writing and how long of a thing it is. We've had a couple episodes where we've talked about like people using it for not quite ghostwriting, but helping just pump out novels very quickly. It does seem like a lot of the arts are under assault by AI. And not just assault, but like to the point where I didn't listen to the whole thing, but that sounded like a good song. It sounded like music.
It sounded, well, there was there was the country song a little while ago that hit #1 on the Billboard country charts.
Right.
Last week, there was a song on the iTunes download, iTunes Music, so people paying for it, hit, I think, #2, again, coming from Suno. Also, I've heard that more and more often, Suno is now being used to generate samples. So the use case being a lot of music leverages samples from other tracks, especially in the sort of dance, electronic, hip hop genres. So what they do is they go and they, I was about to sing some excerpt from some other song, but I'm not going to. But they would do that, then have Suno create a version of it, then use that sample in their track so it doesn't have the copyright claim, and they're able to leverage all this cool old stuff.
Totally
by the
legally distinct thing from that one drum break that everybody's heard.
And the track that was on iTunes tracking is like a soul track too. Again, not some like crazy electronic people bopping people boop. No, right. Just like the one we just heard was like a really sort of gritty rock and roll track, and Jensen Huang was correct.
Well,
at least in this,
I haven't used this phrase in a little while on our podcast, but I like to have my three letters and percent signs next to them. It's X% of people and Y% of cases, Z% of the time. I don't think AGI is one line that we cross. It's whenever we get over some percent, call it 50% for all three of those. I don't know. But in terms of like what a person could sit down and do at a computer, like, are we there? And I don't mean there in terms of it's broadly better than everybody else. I think the better than everybody else, that's ASI, artificial superintelligence. AGI, you take the average person, you take a whole bunch of individual people, and you see how good they are at doing stuff with computers. And then you take Claude Opus 4.6 or whatever, the greatest and latest of OpenAI's models, or even Mistral or whoever. It's better than people at everything at this point, right? And I mean everything that you could do with a computer, with like maybe, and I do still say maybe, the exception of like do a deep, I'm going to like open up multiple tabs in a browser and like surf the web to go find.
Although it's getting a lot better at that too.
But yeah, like that's between the actual like computer use, I'll open up a window and click around for you, or everything being done over APIs. For those not in the technical know, an API is just like, instead of looking at the actual thing on the screen, you take a specific packet of information, pop it off, and get the raw response back from that website or whatever. I've been putting more and more APIs and MCP servers and tools and skills into Claude as of late. Wow, it really is just the word to say. It's incredible how far we've come, and I do think for the average person, for most of their use cases, for most of the time, I think we're there, honestly.
The part that doesn't feel like we're there, but I think that you can think about it a different way, and we are there, is that the AI still very much needs a manager. I think it's still really bad at figuring out on its own what it should work on, and then working on those things, and then bringing to you finished, polished products. You still very much have to tell it what it is you want it to do and give it some feedback. But by the way, so do you have to, most humans, right? When most humans go to work, they have a manager who says, today, here's what I want you to work on. And I'm going to give you some feedback on what you did last time that was good and what was bad. And here's what I'd like you to try this time. And when you're done, run it by me, and then I'll give you some feedback. So if we're willing to like pull out the manager component and say, okay, yeah, it's a slightly different kind of manager than the human needs, but it's still a manager, then most computer work can be done agentically.
Well, I guess that means that for the middle managers out there who are listening, your job
We're
is
back,
still
baby.
safe.
We're back. Finally. My life has meaning.
Oh, goodness. But really, like, if you want to, I know we talk a lot about, like, what is the definition of AGI? And in the same talk, basically seconds later, after NVIDIA's CEO says, I think we've achieved AGI, immediately starts walking back. Well, for OpenClaw, people use it for a couple of months and then it dies away. I think he said that before OpenClaw was out for a couple of months. But,
ours only lasted about 2 days.
These things are fads. They're flash in the pan. He also mentions, look, it's not quote here, it's not a biological being, it's not an alien, it's not conscious, it's computer software. Okay, you came out swinging with this really, really big, I think we got AGI. And to a lot of people, if they don't necessarily, even if they do know what that means, for whatever it could mean, AGI represents a seismic shift in just how humanity was and then is. We might as well start the calendars over with, like, we're now in one AI as opposed to 2026 AD.
What's the famous quotes, like the future is already here, it's just not evenly distributed or something like that? You know what I'm talking about? I think it's maybe like an Arthur C.
Right.
Clarke or something.
I think yes on the quote. I'm pretty sure that's the person, but you could say it was Abraham Lincoln, and I'd still believe you. We've talked also a little bit about that even distribution when it comes to AI being available.
That was Gibson.
People.
William
Gibson. Oh, like of the guitars.
Not that one.
Oh, okay. Well,
the other one.
Common last name.
But
so we talk about this distribution of AI, right?
Yeah.
You're subscribed to 77 different AI services, each of which costs at least $200 a month, right? Something like that.
I am actually on a personal mission to clean this up, and I have been cleaning it up. And it started with the Claude Max plan, because it was like another $200 a month, and I was just like, Hunter.
Wait, you just switched to that? Hold on.
Well,
that
yeah,
was like
no. I still have it. I'm saying that started I finally was like, you know what? I should cancel a few things before. And so every day I've just been going in and canceling a few more because, and I'm just like, I'll come back to them, and weird ones, and some didn't even like
Suno.
I still have the Suno, but Suno's still really great, Daniel.
That was worth it. Whatever amount of money you've been sending them, that one clip that I heard totally make it worth it. Yeah.
So,
okay, so less subscriptions, but still the number of dollars that Claude Max plan, $200 a month.
Sure. Granted,
most people are not going to be using it basically all day, every day, which is what that Max plan is for. It gives you a lot more usage.
Well,
is access to this just like funneling money up to 3 billionaires, and then those who are under them become this like privileged data empowered class? Is this going to worsen inequality, or the way that I want it to work out? Do you think that this still has a chance of empowering everybody in the end?
Well, first off, I don't think that most people want a Claude Code subscription. If you were like, I'll give it to you for free, I don't think
what
most
would they
people
use it for?
It's a fairly small percentage of people that would sign up for it, and if it was completely free. So that's one side of the things. And the cutting edge is
subscription. But the point is, like, it's that money and one subscription to an AI service.
The cutting edge is always going to be expensive. The bleeding edge maybe is even better than the cutting edge.
Okay.
It's always going to be expensive from like how much time it takes. Like it's not practical at all. There was a tweet or a post or X, I don't even know what you're supposed to call them, but it was like that said that trying to stay up to date with this stuff is basically a full-time job. And I think that's like kind of accurate. If you want to know, because there's 6, 7, 8 new releases every single week, and they're kind of significant. So you just can't stay up to date. But if you want to, it's expensive in terms of time, and it's expensive in terms of money. But as far as like, well, are we separating society even more, the haves and the have-nots? No, unless you want to take from just a ability to use technology standpoint, but the very low cost, some would say, you could describe them as free, the open weight models. Last week we had GLM 5.1 scoring really well. We saw I've talked about using Qwen 3.5 locally and been super impressed. That was the one we said, it's kind of the same as using ChatGPT on your computer, and you can run it on a moderately beefy but still consumer level hardware. Although there is a version that'll run on less than that too. That's pretty good. But anyways, there were two giant open weights releases, and they're only 6 months to a year behind the flagship foundational models. So everyone's going to have access to this stuff, whether they want it or not, whether they're willing to engage with it. That's an open question, but that's been true for all of life.
Yeah, I would say that I definitely agree with you on pretty much all of those points. There is...
Hold on, I'm making a new song.
There was a report from Axios where they said that kind of the Uber model of get people using it. It's subsidized, it's cheap, get people hooked, get them used to using this, and then the prices start rising. And
that's literally what happened with Claude Max. I signed up, and 2 days later, they cut the limits, and now you have to pay extra.
We already see this happening across all of the major providers. And the presumption is it will continue to climb. But that's at odds with what you just said, which is that it is going to be sort of integrated into everything. It will be
the bleeding edge will continue to climb.
The bleeding edge. Exactly. That bleeding edge. If you want to be at the bleeding edge, just like, as you said, throughout history, it costs money. Yeah. Being on that bleeding edge is very, very expensive. But then you also see, to use that same last metaphor there, a car. You don't have to get a new car every year. You can have an old clunker from years and years and years ago. That
true,
works
Daniel?
Just fine. It is. But we're just going to let that sit for a sec. It is. Yes, you don't have to.
I actually have very old cars, just for the record. I have a 1996 Land Rover D90. 1996.
Does your Cybertruck know about it, though?
They sit next to each other. They're the complete opposites.
Different personalities. I imagine Hunter's put full-on Kit style, speaking of really timely references on this podcast, something I'm known for. The Knight Rider, you've got one of those things put into it. I think that'd be fun. Let's put a pin in that, come back to it later. But for vehicles, you can have something that you've had for a very long time and add to, with the open weights models, I'm not saying that anyone is going to find a tremendous amount of value out of Llama 2 these days, but the current open weights models that are not even the bleeding edge, the really big ones, the Qwen 2.5s or a smaller version of 3.5 that more people could run on their computers. Yeah, those might still be sort of regular person workhorses integrated into, here's the free version of stuff, and it just kind of comes with your computer. It's the one program that you download and just sets itself up for you in the future. I think these will be ubiquitous without the $200 a month tag attached. You just need good enough hardware, and that is becoming slowly cheaper.
Maybe there is a connection to the automobile industry as well, as far as basically more people having more, better, good stuff. In terms of one thing that changed for me in automobiles that removed a lot of my desire to get the latest, greatest, newest model was when all of a sudden the entertainment center in your car was largely powered by your phone, and it was your phone. But what was interesting was check out these, now I got these cool apps and navigation, and all of a sudden that was just on your phone. And now I just would upgrade my phone every year instead of upgrading the car, and the car kept getting better. And of course, Tesla and Rivian, as they sort of embed these computers that continue, I don't know how many times my Tesla's been updated. Probably, if I just had to guess, 15 times it's been updated since I bought it. It keeps getting better. I don't have some desire to go buy a new one because the one I have keeps getting better. And I think that as these models keep getting released and they keep having the ability to run on lower and lower hardware, cheaper and cheaper hardware, I'd imagine the average consumer will start feeling that and experiencing that.
How does that then contrast against the fact that it looks like the Anthropics of the world are intending to go public as companies.
Yeah, so these are two very different things. We are talking about two very different markets. We're talking about a consumer market and an enterprise market. The ability to have a chat GPT-like experience on your phone, that is consumer. And in fact, the next version of the iPhone coming out later this year is expected to basically have ChatGPT powered by Gemini, Google's Gemini, where you can just run it and use it as much as you want on your phone. So arguably, you no longer need a ChatGPT subscription. But this is very different than enterprise usage, which is what Anthropic is. If they go public, that's what they're targeting. That's what they're targeting, and that's also what we think OpenAI is now circling around. Like, that's what we have to target too, in order to create this quote unquote enterprise value, so that they can go public and raise however many trillions of dollars. And the enterprise is different because it has very different requirements. They have to have these systems that support all these different peoples and these organizations and these flows and these data protections. And also enterprise is different because a company is willing to spend a lot more money to be 1% better, because that 1% can translate directly into a return on investment, money. Okay, we can just do the math. My company currently makes $100 million a year. You're offering me something that will increase my profit by 2%. So I'll make an extra $2 million a year, and you want to charge me $500,000 for that. Okay, it's an easy sell.
Especially when it comes to privacy concerns. If you say, look, everyone at our company has ChatGPT on their phone already. If we can get them on the enterprise plan, we don't have to worry about improperly set security settings, for example.
Company's never going to say, other things. Everyone just use your iPhone.
There's the economies of scale there as well. And this is also the win for your Anthropics and OpenAIs of the world, because if you look at the use of any software, any business to business, as far as I can tell, this seems, maybe it isn't universal, but it sure seems like it to me. You're going to have 3 power users of whatever it is, and then this curve that just drops off, approaching nothing for basically everyone else. I've seen this with LLM usage at a couple of places now, where like you have the 3 people who are using it constantly and all the time, and then some people, especially our devs, who use it, let's call it a bunch, and then a few of your power users that are still using it way less than the devs in a couple other parts of the business, and then everyone else is logged in twice. And if everyone's paying the same per seat at that enterprise level, well, shoot, that ends up being the overall win for the LLM provider, or the other, business to business provider that does the same sort of thing, just not in the same space. Email is such a bad way to get a hold of me. It's awful. I barely ever open the darn thing. If you honestly, I'd say the best way to get a hold of me is leaving like comments on our YouTube videos, probably. Because
have you ever responded to one of those comments though? I see Gary in there. He goes to the public library and he responds.
I read them. I think I might have responded to like one once. I'll leave some thumbs up here and there. But am I trying to like game the algorithm? This is what my quandary is. Am I gaming the algorithm? Is YouTube going to be like, I see Daniel's liking his own videos, we're gonna shadow ban the whole feed? I've literally been afraid to like interact with our own podcast for fear of it. Like,
you're afraid of the AI.
I'm afraid of the algorithm anyways. We should all be afraid of YouTube. They'll get you.
I'm not afraid, Daniel.
Good.
And if you're not afraid, you should subscribe to this podcast.
You don't have to be afraid if you're listening on Spotify. I guess that would be
That's true. There's the audio-only versions on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, although we are working very hard to get the video versions there as well, because Apple Podcasts also released an update recently, so they have video. By the way, they used to have video like many years ago, and they took it away, and then now they've brought it back, and it's a new feature. We just have to anyway. It's a provider issue, but as soon as I'm yelling at them, and as soon as they finally open their Claude Code session and say add support for videos,
talk to them. Hunter, this is not a you problem. This is Gary's job. He's supposed to be
Gary,
talking.
take a note, please. Reach out to Simplecast and find out, insist that we get video
Insist.
support pronto.
Strongly insist.
Yes, and for everyone else, well,
Strongly insist to all of your friends and family and strangers, probably coworkers, that they listen to They Might Be Self-Aware.
now on twice a week. And we will be back very soon with even more of your Somewhere Near the Top podcast, also known as
They might be self-aware.